Before starting this video, I do want to give a shout out to my patrons that support the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are some great benefits for you if you want to look at the Patreon link down below. So with that out of the way, let's get into this week's video. What's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStompMTG. Glad to have you here. So with this video, I'm going to be doing something a little different from my normal type of videos. I'm going to be making a series of different themed decks from movies. So for example, today we're going to be doing Dune. Dune is one of the classic books from sci-fi fantasy that absolutely is adored by many fans. They did make a movie recently, I think in the last couple of years. So in this deck tech, we're going to be going over some of the elements you want to have in this deck to get that Doom theme very well. So the commander that will helm this deck will be none other than Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. I feel like by far this is the best pick for your commander deck if you want to do a Doom theme, because we're going to be doing more of that desert theme. We're not going to focus so much on the desert walk. You're going to be playing desert lands from your graveyard, which is pretty good, and also we can make a lot of sand warrior tokens on the battlefield. I mean, to be honest, we don't have a whole lot of great deserts to play, but we're just going to be putting a lot of deserts in our deck so that we can have a great time using our commander. So obviously our commander is kind of based off of the Fremen that are the desert people in the Dune saga. So I'm not necessarily going to go over what kind of lands you should have in this deck, because there's going to be a lot of different deserts. You could be picking and choosing what kind of deserts you want to have in this list. I do have a deck list down below if you do want to check it out and see what kind of lands I do have. However, let's go over some land synergies, because we're going to be sacrificing a lot of lands so that they could go to the graveyard, so then we could put them back on the battlefield with our commander's ability. So some ways we could ramp and also get some lands to the graveyard like our deserts so that we could put it back on the battlefield would be using cards like Roiling Regrowth and Harrow, where we could sacrifice a land and search our library for 2 basic lands. To further our game plan, we want to have a little bit of a self-mill, because we want to make sure we could get some deserts into our graveyard so that we could use our commander's ability to put them back onto the battlefield. So a great option we do have is Mending of Dominaria. We could essentially mill some cards and we could return a creature card from our graveyard to our hand, and also on top of that we could return all lands from our graveyard back onto the battlefield, just in case if our commander is not on the battlefield, we could easily get those deserts from the graveyard back onto the battlefield. And we do also have some cards that could directly search up some deserts so that we could put them onto the battlefield directly. We do have Hour of Promise, which is absolutely perfect in this deck because we could search our library for up to 2 land cards and put them on the battlefield. There's no other stipulation right there. Any land that you have in your deck, we could add onto the battlefield. Plus, it has that great stipulation of if you control 3 or more deserts, we could create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens in addition when we put those deserts onto the battlefield. Also, another easy to include if you want to make sure you're sacrificing a land to put another land on the battlefield, crop rotation is a no-brainer in here, absolutely perfect. And if we do want to further our plan to put deserts onto the battlefield while sacrificing deserts, we could easily add Scape Shift, which is essentially a crop rotation on steroids. So now that we set up our landscape, let's talk about the Fremen and what kind of Fremen we want to add into this list. Obviously, they're going to be different creature types from all over, but this will help further our game plan so that we could have a great Dune-themed deck. So cards I selected are going to be a little different from the normal Fremen, obviously, because we don't have those kind of creature types, but we do have Elvish Reclaimer, World Shaper, and Springbloom Druid. All of these cards provide a great way so that we could put lands into our graveyard so that we could use our commander's ability to reanimate them. As we all know, the Fremen are masters at riding the worms in Dune, so we have Baru Wormspeaker. This is an absolutely flavor win right here because it's a worm rider, of course, and obviously it has those abilities to buff up your worms, also making worms himself, so this is an absolutely great include in here. We're going to be going over worms in a little bit, but we want to go over what substance controls the universe, and that is spice in Dune. We're going to be making a little bit of adjustment there, and we're going to be using power tokens in the placement of spice because it's kind of a flavor win right there, because there's going to be a lot of different things in here that make power stone tokens. What I feel like Power Stone tokens are going to be utilized for most in this deck is going to be in for mana sinks. Kind of like Baru Wormspeaker, it has that ability of paying 7 and a green. To make a worm token, you could use those Power Stones in that ability so you could reduce it maybe to even just a green mana, just to make a 4/4 green worm token. So let's go over some machines that we could use in this deck so that we could make it a better gameplay experience for ourselves. So we do have the mana rig. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a tapped Power Stone token. Because we're going to be harvesting so much Power Stone tokens, or spice if you will, if we're going to be in the Dune universe, we could definitely fuel that card draw ability right there, looking at the top X cards, so we could pay a lot of fuel into there and making sure that we could get some card advantage for sure. Also, another machine we could use in this deck, not directly related to Power Stones, but it's directly related to our deserts because a lot of our deserts come in tap. We do have Tiller Engine, which is a really great card because whenever our land enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, you can choose one, untap that land, or tap target non-land permanent and opponent controls. This is absolutely great in our deck because it can give us control against our opponents if we need to. Also going to untap our deserts if we need to as well. I do have some other great mana sinks available down below in the deck list if you want to go check that out, but now we're going to be going over the worms. The worms are going to be definitely the biggest part of this deck. This is what we're really trying to go after. So the first worm I did want to mention, because we're going to be making a lot of Power Stone tokens, we might as well get an artifact creature in here. So we do have Worm Coil Engine. This is just a fantastic all-star in any kind of deck. It has some great abilities of Death Touch and Lifelink, and when it dies it makes 2 replacement bodies with 3/3s instead. So I think this is a great include to add into this list. Also, another card I did want to mention that's absolutely perfect in here and going with the theme of Power Stone tokens is Sarenth Great Worm. So it has Trample, and whenever a land enters the battlefield, create a tapped Power Stone token. So that includes your opponent's lands as well. We are in a landfall theme a little bit, so we're going to be getting a lot of Power Stone tokens because of this creature. And I'll actually be honest, this is actually the card that made me want to make a Worm Tribal list, but I couldn't figure out what way I wanted to go, but I feel like it's perfect for this Dune theme because we're going to be making Power Stone tokens so that we can get those mana sinks online. And also on top of that, we're in some little worm synergies as well, so I think this is a perfect fit for sure. So another big worm I did want to mention, because we are making a lot of tokens because of our commander while deserts are coming back on the battlefield. We do have Autochthon Worm, I can't pronounce that correctly, but it has a whopping mana cost of 15. But with the tokens we're producing and the other creatures we do have, I feel like this could be easy to cast if we wanted to. But to be quite honest, it's just a big beater to add onto the board so that we could keep on attacking with big giant worms. Also, because we are in a big worm theme with a lot of green mana symbols, we might as well add Defiler of Vigor. This is absolutely incredible, pumping up our team whenever a green permanent enters the battlefield. Absolutely absurd, 100% adding this into the list. So the last card I do want to mention here is Sandworm Convergence. This is absolutely a flavor win if I've ever seen one for Dune. It has a great ability of creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, and at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So when you put this early on the battlefield, this could get a lot of value for you, getting a 5/5 green worm token each time. I would say this is probably the biggest flavor win card in this deck because a lot of ships are coming flying from the sky down to harvest the spice. And all these sandworms are converging on these machines so that they can take it down so that they can't be bothered anymore. So I want to thank you all so much for coming by and watching this themed video of Dune. I do plan on doing a bunch of different movie themes throughout the year, so let me know down below what movie theme do you want to see in a deck. With this new year of Magic, I'm pretty excited for what's coming up next with the Phyrexia storyline. Also, I'm really excited for the new Lord of the Rings set. However, if there was any set that I'd be more excited about, it would be the new Ixalan set that's coming out at the end of the year. It's my favorite set of all time. I really love Ixalan and all that it had. I wish we had more time on there, but luckily we're going back to it, mainly because I love dinosaurs. I mean, my channel logo is a dinosaur, so I mean that's just a dead giveaway right there that I love dinosaurs so much. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That's definitely the best way to support the channel. And with that out of the way, thank you for stomping by.